If ACORN weren't a household name before, it's fast becoming one. The Association of Community Organizations for Reform Now was thrust into the national spotlight when ACORN counselors was secretly videotaped by a filmmaker posing as a pimp and asking for advice on smuggling prostitutes and evading taxes. The 40-year-old organization lost funders, credibility, and supporters. A national city office is right in the middle of it all. We put David Lagstein, head organizer of San Diego ACORN, on the record about the reputation of the organization, and here's what he had to say.
I think it's worth noting what happened in this incident at our office in National City. Undercover filmmakers came in with the intention of entrapping our staff member. They succeeded in getting him to say some stupid things that he's not proud of, that we're not proud of, that don't represent the organization. At the same time, at the end of the incident, he communicated with the National City Police Department about that incident. No paperwork was filed, no criminal acts were done, stupid comments were made that we're not proud of, but we should be clear what's the difference between a stupid comment and what's the difference between wrongdoing. This is a partisan attempt to try and discredit ACORN, to discredit the work that we do, helping families with foreclosures, helping to push for more funding for education, fighting for access to affordable health care. This is taking us away from our mission, it's taking us away from our focus. So we're also accepting responsibility for the mistakes it's exposed. We've halted all of our service programs, our tax preparation, our foreclosure prevention program, and our assistance in helping people to access state and federal benefits such as food stamps and healthy families.
Joining me now to talk about the controversy surrounding ACORN is John Warren, editor and publisher of San Diego Voice and Viewpoint, and Ricky Young, government editor for the San Diego Union Tribune. And welcome to you both. John, let me start with you. Those videotapes have really struck a chord with the public and with the politicians. How destructive have the reactions been to ACORN?
Well, I think they've been very destructive in the sense that ACORN is just beginning to speak up now and to take some actions in terms of trying to clarify who it is, what its credibility is, and what it's done over the years. I think it's unfortunate because ACORN has a tremendous track record. I've worked with them some 35 years ago. They've done good all over the country in many areas in terms of communities. And I think the steps that they're taking now are very important. They made the decisions in terms of people who were engaged in inappropriate conduct. Those people have been removed, as any organization would. They're taking legal actions against the people who came in and did the videotaping because they did so without consent, and both in Maryland and California, you need consent to tape people. So lawsuits are being filed, actions being taken there. But what is significant here in terms of the comment that was made about it being a partisan effort is that we see in San Diego County, for instance, the Republican members of the Board of Supervisors, Pam Slater-Price, Bill Horn, the California State Republican Party, San Diego County Republican Party, Darrell Issa, the actions in Congress, everything has made this a partisan issue, even before we've gotten to the bottom of it.
But we have to take a look at ACORN, despite whether it's partisan or not. Is ACORN at fault for not screening and training its workers sufficiently?
Well, I don't know how you would anticipate how a worker would react when people dressed as a pimp and a hooker came into your place of business and started asking bizarre questions. So it's hard to say they should have screened that out, but you do see the organization still sort of making excuses for the guy and saying, well, he called the police afterwards. He called his cousin, who happened to be in the police department 2 days later. That's not exactly, hey, there's criminal activity, I'm going to call the cops right now. So you do see some reaction by the agency that still seems to excuse the behavior.
Well, John mentioned Pam Slater-Price, and on Tuesday, the County Board of Supervisors voted to work with the Secretary of State to investigate ACORN's role in submitting fraudulent voter registration applications. And District 3 Supervisor Slater-Price told us why it was important for the supervisors to pursue this investigation.
Well, one of the issues that we faced was that of the more than 36,000 applications that were turned in by ACORN for the last election, 2/3 of them came from our county, and most of them were from South Bay. So you see that that's a large portion of the vote there. So what we want to make sure is that going forward that we have accurate information. There is no going backward. After you have a certified election, that election is over with, the results are in, and we're all living with whatever they are. So you don't go backwards in this type of situation, especially once the vote has been certified.
But head organizer of San Diego ACORN, David Lagstein, defends his organization's record of providing valid voter registration forms.
The county board of supervisors, they're jumping on the bandwagon. It's a partisan fishing expedition. We have a great quality control program for our voter registration program. Every single application that was filled out, we worked to verify to make sure that the information was accurate. Anything that was questionable, we separated before handing in. And I think the important thing is we're proud of the work that we did. Last year was a record turnout in the 2008 election, and we helped to turn out more people than ever before and helped to boost the voter participation rate in underrepresented African American and Latino communities.
So, Ricky, what do you think the motivation was for the San Diego supervisors to take the action that they're now taking?
I think it was purely a reaction to pressure from their constituents and sort of nationally to this conservative push against ACORN to do something. I think the question is, where were they last November when all these registration cards came in? And at the time, there was some discussion of an investigation, which didn't seem to go very far. Our local registrar sent some registrations up to Sacramento to be checked out, but then nobody really followed up.
Maybe. I mean, those 76 registrations, I think it was 76. There's now a disagreement, isn't there? I mean, Deborah Seiler, our local registrar of voters, said, I sent it up, got no action. Secretary of State's office says not true.
Secretary of State's office says that she has a problem with recall and that they're sending a letter to her to help refresh her memory, because they did look into the matter, and so we have to wait to see what happens with the letter.
My question was more in terms of where were the supervisors pushing for this? They weren't ringing the bell after the things came up last November. ACORN was extremely active in San Diego County, where most of the registrations for the whole state took place. That drive helped make Democrats more prevalent than Republicans among our registered voters last fall. It was a pretty big deal, and their error rate in terms of their applications was much higher than other groups that were out registering people to vote.
Well, speaking of Democrats, President Obama has had some ties with ACORN, represented ACORN in a lawsuit 15 years ago, and as Ricky said, Democratic registration went up, and maybe part of it had to do with those that ACORN was registering. Is that also kind of lighting the fire?
Well, I think that's where efforts are made to discredit the organization and the president. The truth of the matter is, at the time at which he worked for ACORN, they were legal counsel representing them. I believe they won the case that they brought. It was all a part of the work that ACORN was being done. The big concern we have here is we have a president who came as a community organizer, who has brought a large community organization entity into the political process, who happened to raise more money and do more, and now it represents a threat to the status quo in terms of the ongoing participation. So we can't just assume because the president was involved in another life, in another position, that there was something wrong then, because that was not an action against ACORN. That was ACORN bringing action against someone else.
But clearly, this is going to remain a little partisan battle here.